Imagine disappearing from the face of the earth in a single heartbeat. One moment, you are the master of your world, moving through the desert with absolute freedom. The next, you are trapped in a silent tomb of red rock with no one coming to save you. You have a single bottle of water, a dull pocket knife, and a terrifying choice. Do you wait for a peaceful death? Or do you inflict unspeakable violence upon yourself just to see the sun rise one more time? This is not fiction. This is the brutal, true account of what happens when the human will is pushed past the breaking point, and a man is forced to pay the ultimate price for his freedom. It begins on a Saturday morning, April 26, 2003. The protagonist is Aron Ralston, a 27-year-old mechanical engineer who left his corporate job at Intel to chase the adrenaline of the outdoors. He is hyper-intelligent, incredibly fit, and suffering from a dangerous condition known as invincibility. He believes he is the master of his environment. On this particular morning, he drives his truck to the trailhead of Blue John Canyon in a remote corner of southeastern Utah. It is a place of red dust, ancient sandstone, and silence so deep it rings in your ears. Aron parks his truck, pulls out his mountain bike, and rides 15 miles to the canyon entrance. He locks his bike to a juniper tree and continues on foot. He is alone. And in a decision that will haunt him for the rest of his life, he has not told a single soul where he is going. To the world, he has simply vanished. His gear is light, designed for speed, not survival. He has a backpack containing 2 burritos, less than a gallon of water in a camelback reservoir, a climbing rope, a harness, a video camera, and a cheap imitation multi-tool he bought for $15. It's not a Leatherman, it's a knockoff, a multi-torch with a dull knife blade, a pair of pliers, and a small flashlight. He doesn't know it yet, but this piece of junk metal is about to become the most valuable object on Earth. The morning goes perfectly. The sky is a cobalt blue, the temperature is mild, and the canyon is a playground of narrow slots and smooth sandstone walls. Aron moves with the fluid grace of an athlete, stemming his way through the slots, bracing his hands and feet against the walls to float over obstacles. At 2:41 p.m., he reaches a section of the canyon that is particularly narrow, about 3 feet wide. To descend a drop-off, he needs to negotiate a chalkstone. A chalkstone is a boulder that has fallen from the cliffs above and gotten wedged between the canyon walls. This specific boulder is a massive chunk of sandstone, the size of a large bus tire, weighing roughly 800 pounds. It is covered in the dust of decades. It looks as solid as the earth itself. Aron steps out onto the rock, facing inward, intending to use it as a step to lower himself down. He tests it. It feels solid. He commits his weight. In that split second, geological time catches up with human time. As he shifts his weight, the friction holding the boulder gives way. The rock rotates. Aron slips. He falls into the bottom of the canyon, and the 800-pound boulder follows him, guided by gravity, sliding down the narrow chute. Aron instinctively throws his hands up to protect his face. The boulder slams into his right forearm, pinning it against the canyon wall. The sound is a sickening, muffled crunch, the sound of rock meeting bone. Then, silence. Aron hangs there, his feet dangling inches above the sandy floor. He is stunned. He looks at his right arm. It disappears behind the rock. His wrist and the lower half of his forearm are crushed flat. The pain hasn't hit yet. His brain is flooded with endorphins and shock. He grunts, adrenaline surging through his veins, and pulls. He yanks his arm with the frantic strength of a trapped animal. He slams his body against the boulder, trying to shoulder check it out of the way. He screams, a primal roar that echoes off the canyon walls and disappears into the blue strip of sky above. But the boulder does not move. It is a geological fact. It has fused with the wall, and Aron's arm is the mortar. Then, the pain arrives. It starts as a throb and escalates into a blinding, white-hot agony. The pressure is immense. The circulation to his hand has been completely cut off. The nerves are being crushed. Aron forces himself to stop struggling. He is an engineer. Panic is an inefficiency he cannot afford. He takes a deep breath and begins to assess the problem. He realizes he is trapped in a slot canyon, 100 feet below the surface of the desert. No one knows he is here. He has limited water, he has limited food, and he is attached to an anchor that weighs nearly half a ton. He begins to engineer his escape. His first idea is mechanical advantage. He manages to maneuver his feet onto a small ledge so he isn't hanging by his arm. He gets out his climbing rope and carabiners. He constructs a complex pulley system, anchoring one end to the rock above and the other to the boulder. He understands the physics. If he can create enough tension, he might be able to rotate the rock just an inch, enough to slide his hand out. He works for hours, sweating profusely in the cool shade. He ties knots with his left hand and his teeth. He braces his legs against the walls and pulls. He pulls until the capillaries in his eyes burst. He pulls until he is screaming with effort. The rope stretches, tight as a piano wire, singing with tension. But the rock doesn't move. The friction against the canyon wall is too great. The physics are against him. Plan B is destruction. He takes out the cheap multi-tool. He opens the knife blade. It is barely 2 inches long and made of soft, low-grade steel. He begins to chip at the boulder, hoping to carve a groove in the sandstone to free his hand. He pecks at the rock like a prisoner digging a tunnel with a spoon. Tap, tap, tap. The sound is pathetic in the vast silence. After hours of work, he has created a small pile of red dust, but he hasn't even made a dent in the structural integrity of the trap. Worse, the knife blade is now completely dull. As the sun sets on the first day, the temperature plummets. It drops to near freezing. Aron is wearing only a t-shirt and shorts. He is already dehydrated, and now hypothermia begins to stalk him. He cannot sit down because his arm is pinned too high. He has to stand. His legs cramp. To survive the night, he rigs a harness from his climbing gear, creating a sort of diaper that allows him to semi-sit, taking the weight off his legs. He wraps himself in the remaining rope like a cocoon to trap his body heat. He shivers violently, his teeth chattering so hard he thinks they might crack. The pain in his arm is a constant, screaming noise in his brain. By day 2, the reality of his slow death sets in. He finishes his 2 burritos. He has about half a liter of water left. He begins to play a game with himself. He is allowed 1 tiny sip every 2 hours. He holds the water in his mouth, letting it soak into his parched tongue before swallowing. He begins to videotape himself. He holds the camcorder with his left hand, turning the screen so he can see his own deteriorating face. He records a will. He tells his parents where his bank accounts are. He apologizes for his arrogance. "Mom, Dad, I love you," he says, his voice cracking. "I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be free. And now I'm never going to see you again." These tapes are not for him. They are for the coroner who will find his body. On the 3rd day, the water runs out. The desert air is sucking the moisture out of him with every breath. His lips crack and bleed. His tongue swells until it fills his mouth. He's dying of thirst. He looks at his urine. He knows the survival rule. Don't drink it. It contains toxins that the kidneys have filtered out. But he has no choice. He urinates into the Camelback Reservoir. He lets it settle. Then, he drinks it. It is warm, salty, and vile. It tastes like ammonia. But it is liquid. It keeps his heart pumping for a few more hours. By day 4, the canyon begins to change. It is no longer empty. Hallucinations begin to populate the shadows. He sees Scooby-Doo characters running on the canyon walls. He sees a portal opening in the rock, revealing a party with all his friends, holding ice-cold margaritas. He hears music. He finds himself having long, complex conversations with rocks. His brain is cooking in its own toxins. But the horror is also physical. His trapped arm is dying. The pressure has killed the tissue. It has begun to rot. A sweet, cloying smell of decay, gangrene, fills the narrow space. It is the smell of his own death. He takes the dull knife and pokes the blade into the meat of his thumb. It slides in easily. There is no pain. The thumb is gray and cold. He realizes that the thing trapped under the rock is no longer his hand. It is dead meat, but he is still attached to it. He tries to amputate. He takes the dull knife and begins to saw at his forearm. He cuts through the top layer of skin. It is agony, but he pushes through. But then he hits the muscle, and finally, the bone. He grinds the knife back and forth, but the blade just slides over the hard radius bone. It is impossible. He cannot cut through bone with a dull pocket knife. He screams in frustration and throws the knife down. He is defeated. He carves his name into the sandstone wall. Aron. Underneath, he carves the dates. OCT 75, APR 03. He has written his own tombstone. He accepts that he will not wake up, but he does wake up. It is the morning of the 6th day. Thursday, May 1st. He is drifting in and out of a coma. His body is shutting down. But then, he has a vision. It is distinct from the hallucinations. He sees a little boy, maybe 3 years old, running across a sunlit floor in a house Aron has never seen. The boy has blonde hair and a red polo shirt. The boy runs into the arms of a one-armed man. Aron realizes, with the force of a revelation, that the man is him. This is his future son. This is a memory from a future that has not happened yet. And if it hasn't happened yet, it means he does not die here. A surge of adrenaline, perhaps the last one his body can produce, floods his system. He looks at his trapped arm. He realizes the mistake he made in his previous amputation attempt. He thought he had to cut through the bone. But he is an engineer. He understands torque. He understands leverage. He doesn't need to cut the bones. He needs to break them. He jams his hand deeper into the crevice to secure it. He braces his legs against the canyon walls. He takes a deep breath, screams a primal war cry, and throws his entire body weight violently to the left. Crack! The sound is deafening, like a gunshot in a library. He has snapped the radius bone about 2 inches above the wrist. The pain is blinding, sickening, overwhelming. He falls to his knees, dry heaving, but he isn't done. He stands up. He has one more bone to go. He bends his arm deep into the V shape of the break, then throws his body weight down and to the right, hyperextending the arm. Snap. The ulna breaks. The structural integrity of his arm is gone. It is now like a wet noodle, held together only by muscle, tendon, and skin. Now begins the butchery. He sits down, focused. He takes the dull multi-tool. He doesn't just need to cut, he needs to dig. He plunges the blade into the soft spot of the break. He saws through the muscle. It is thick and fibrous. He cuts the tendons, which snap back like rubber bands. The blood flow is minimal because the arm has been crushed for 5 days. But he still applies a tourniquet using the rubber tubing from his camelback, twisting it tight with a carabiner. Then he reaches the nerves. The main nerve cluster in the arm looks like a strand of white angel hair pasta. It is the information highway for pain. Aron knows that cutting this will be the worst thing he has ever felt. He pauses. He steels himself. He brings the knife down. As the blade severs the nerve, the universe explodes. Aron describes the sensation not as pain, but as sticking his entire arm into a vat of boiling magma while simultaneously being struck by lightning. His vision goes white. His brain shorts out. He convulses. But he does not stop. He cuts the second nerve. Another explosion. Finally, there is only a flap of skin connecting him to the dead hand. He slices it. He falls backward against the canyon wall. He's holding the stump of his right arm against his chest. The boulder remains where it is, holding the severed hand, a gruesome toll paid for passage. Aron Ralston is free, but he is not safe. He is standing in a pool of his own blood, starving, with a fresh amputation at the bottom of a canyon. He looks at his watch. It took him 1 hour to perform the surgery. It is now late morning. He stands up. He is lightheaded. He packs his gear with his left hand. He takes a picture of the rock and his trapped hand, a final testament to what happened. Then he starts to move. He walks down the canyon, navigating the twists and turns. He comes to a drop-off. It is a 60-foot sheer cliff. Normally, this is a routine rappel, but doing it one-handed while bleeding out and on the verge of passing out is a Herculean task. He rigs the rope. He bites the end of the rope with his teeth to feed it through the device. He steps off the edge. He controls the descent with his one good hand, his stump throbbing in time with his heartbeat. He reaches the bottom. There, he finds a pool of water. It is stagnant, brown, and filled with dead bugs. It is the most beautiful thing he has ever seen. He falls face first into the muck and drinks. He drinks until his stomach hurts. The water revitalizes him just enough to continue. He has to hike. The canyon opens up into the desert. He has 7 miles to go to get to his truck. 7 miles under the midday sun. He walks. He stumbles. He talks to himself to stay awake. He visualizes the boy from his vision. "Keep walking," he whispers. "Get to the boy." 5 miles later, he sees 3 figures in the distance. He thinks they are another hallucination, but they don't disappear. It is a Dutch family on vacation. A mother, father, and son. Aron tries to shout, but his throat is like sandpaper. He raises his left arm. He walks toward them. As he gets closer, the family stops. They see a man who looks like a walking corpse, covered in dried blood, with a raw, wrapped stump where his arm should be. "Help me," Aron croaks. The family runs to him. They give him water. They give him Oreos. The sugar hits his bloodstream like rocket fuel. They support him, walking him toward the trailhead. Minutes later, a sound cuts through the air. The thwup, thwup, thwup of a helicopter rotor. The authorities had finally been alerted by Aron's family and had launched a search that morning. The helicopter spots the group. It lands in a cloud of red dust. A para-rescue jumper leaps out and runs to Aron. As the rescuer grabs him, Aron looks at him with clear, fierce eyes. "I'm Aron Ralston," he says. "I have lost my arm, but I am alive." They load him onto the helicopter. As they lift off, the pilot pushes the engines to the max to get them to the hospital in Moab. When they arrive, Aron refuses a stretcher. He steps out of the helicopter and walks into the emergency room under his own power. The doctors discover that he has lost nearly half his blood volume. He weighs 40 pounds less than when he started the hike. His kidneys are shutting down. If he had stayed in that canyon for 1 hour longer, he would be dead. Months later, a team of 13 park rangers returned to Blue John Canyon. They brought a hydraulic jack and a heavy-duty winch. It took all of them and the heavy machinery to lift the boulder that Aron had tried to move with his bare hands. They retrieved the severed hand. They cremated the hand. 6 months after the accident, on his birthday, Aron Ralston returned to the canyon. He climbed back into the slot. He stood over the boulder that had trapped him. He took the ashes of his hand and scattered them over the rock. He made peace with the canyon. He said, "This place took my hand, but it gave me back my life." Aron Ralston did not stop climbing. He designed a special prosthetic arm with an ice axe attachment. He went on to climb all the 59 of Colorado's peaks over 14,000 feet, solo, in winter. He fulfilled the vision he saw in the canyon. He met his wife, and he had that son, the boy in the red polo shirt who saved his life. His story is the ultimate proof that we are all capable of doing the impossible, that the human spirit is harder than rock, and that as long as you can draw a breath, you have a choice to survive.